50 and build you all the credit you need. Guaranteed or your money back and a $1,000 visa when you complete the program. Raise Credit will give you what you want. Call Raise Credit. Call 800-543-5772. That's 800-543-5772. Call now. Police make an arrest in connection to the mercury spill over the weekend at a Houston shopping center. It amounted to only about a pint of mercury, but that equates to about 14 pounds of that super dense, highly toxic material. The FBI announced the arrest of 19-year-old Christopher Lee Melder on charges of burglary, unlawful disposal of a hazardous material, and felony drug possession. About 60 people who came into close proximity with the mercury had to be decontaminated. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Time is running out to get those online orders and gifts shipped in time for the holidays.
A record 2 billion packages are expected to be shipped this holiday season. The U.S. Postal Service is handling 28 million packages per day this week. Xavier Hernandez is with the U.S. Postal Service.
I think the mail has just shifted, so we have more packages than ever before.
They're expecting to handle more than 2.5 billion pieces of mail this week. The USPS deadline for retail ground shipments to arrive by Christmas passed over the weekend, but the first class shipping deadline is December 20th. The priority mail deadline is December 21st. Ryan Burrow, ABC News, Chicago.
Instagram's taking steps against bullying. The social networking site has a new feature that notifies users when captions on a photo or video they're posting may be considered offensive. It gives the user a chance to reconsider before posting. Earlier this year, Instagram rolled out a feature notifying people when their comments might be considered offensive. This is ABC News.
Brought to you by Attorney Tax. If you're in trouble with the IRS and owe at least $10,000 in back taxes, listen to this important public announcement. The IRS is now offering a special program called the Fresh Start Initiative, which can offer significantly reduced settlements that can reduce your liability by thousands of dollars. If you're approved and qualified, the IRS will stop the collections against you. Get the help you need by calling the Consumer Hotline, 800-333-9896, 800-333-9896.
Brian Clark, ABC News.
Hello, and welcome to Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham, where Team Needham discusses everything healthcare. I'm your host, Shawn Needham, along with my wonderful wife and producer, Janet, and we are streaming live at the AM 1470 KBSN studio. If you'd like to be part of the show, join in, 509-765-1470. Today we have on the line Matt Dinsmore from Direct Primary Care out of Spokane. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, thank you for agreeing to be on the show. So my first question is, why don't you just share your story and tell us a little bit about your practice and why you made some changes?
All right, you bet. Well, when I graduated as a nurse practitioner, after a year of doing some odds and ends, I finally kind of got my dream job out in a rural clinic in the city that I grew up in, and got to help treat my neighbors and really just kind of be involved in the community. And kind of strangely enough, I began to notice that there was discontentment, right? There was, and usually it was in the providers, and for some reason it always showed up at like our med staff meetings when after administration would talk, and we just had some providers that would like blow up during these meetings, and it was like, whoa, that's a side of that person I haven't seen before, and I thought it was kind of, unique personalities or traits or something along those lines. But after several years of working there, I began to find out that that was a very atypical response, and it was a response of something that was happening and kind of brewing below, right? What was happening is just with the nature of kind of this insurance-billed primary care is every year, the providers were asked to do more and more with a little bit less. They had to see and treat chronic and acute conditions and do well result exams with a little less time and a little less resources, and check a little more boxes and spend more time documenting. I think the national average now is 2 hours of documentation every 1 hour of patient care. And it was destroying these providers, and these providers were lashing out, and we in medicine are always trying to treat the actual condition, not just the symptoms. And these kind of outbursts was just a symptom of something brewing below, come to find out. And, I was taking these, Lean Six Sigma, I don't know if you've heard of these classes, but they're like efficiency courses, how to make the most efficient system. And I also realized, holy smokes, our healthcare system is incredibly inefficient. It is not made to deliver high efficient care. It's just not. Like, if you were just to look at it from an efficiency perspective, when you call in, if a patient has a question, they talk to the front office staff, and that goes to the nurse, and then that goes to the provider answers it, back to the nurse, back to the patient has a question, it goes back to the nurse, back to the provider to the nurse, nurse to patient. I mean, it's like every time there's a transition, that's a delay, and all these things were beginning to add up. And I thought, gosh, there has to be a better way that we can provide care and just in a way that makes sense without like continuing to put, kind of crush providers. Like you're taking these people who are going to rural family medicine, right? They're not after the money. I mean, they're being paid well, but they're not orthopedic specialists or cardiologists or something along those lines. Like they're community-minded people that want to help, just on a very humble level, help people to achieve healthier lives. And then you're basically taking their ability to be able to do that by having to treat one condition in a 7 to 10 minute time frame. I mean, it's just destroying them. And so I thought, okay, well, there's got to be a better way. And maybe what I'll do is I'll just open up my own clinic, and we won't earn a bunch of money, right? We'll see 10 people a day, and we'll provide high quality care, and I'll be able to sleep at night, and then I realized, wait, there is no money in that. Like the overhead required to open up a business in healthcare is just so high. It's like you need a front office staff to answer phones while you're seeing patients to be able to see a ton of them to be profitable. You need a billing specialist to help recuperate most of the expenses. You need a referral specialist to help navigate those waters. I mean, it's just the overhead was so high, and so just before I was losing hope, man, maybe there is no fix for this, I came across the model of direct primary care. And come to find out, there's this national model where there's 12 to 1,500 clinics doing this subscription-based model. So instead of billing insurance and having people show you insurance cards and dealing with co-payments and deductibles, a patient pays a monthly membership fee, usually ranging around $55 a month, and for that, they get unlimited office visits, so they can come in every day in the month. There's no additional charge. It's like a gym membership. You can go in as many times as you want. You get no co-payments, no deductibles. You get extended appointments with your providers, and your provider is accountable to you, not insurance companies. You don't see them checking boxes and charting only when it makes sense, not in front of you to try to keep from falling behind. Plus 24/7 telemedicine, you get all these discounts to medications, and so I was reading this, I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. Providers can provide high quality care without the stress and the worry of trying to justify a billing charge, and then patients, providers are also accountable to provide high quality care, because if they don't, then that patient leaves. The patient now is the payer, so they become the person empowered, not the provider who's accountable to an insurance company and the patient who's accountable to an insurance company. It's all of these things were lining up, and I thought, all right, I think this is what I want to do. I want to try to help providers be empowered to provide care, and I want to be able to provide care in that model where where my arm's not twisted to try to provide care in a certain way, and we have the freedom of care. And so in November 2018, we launched direct primary care here in Spokane, and have absolutely loved it. It's been great.
What a wonderful story. So you've been doing it about a year now?
Yes, just over now.
So you talk about this direct primary care, and you say, so it's $55 a month. Is that what your charge is? Correct?
Yeah. Well, the ranges across the nation, they kind of all do a little bit differently. Ours is age-based, so it ranges between $29 for those 26 and under, up to $109 for those over 64.
And so what does that entail? Do you have other services besides just seeing you? Are there other services inside, like for instance, what if you had to do a suture? Would that be extra, or is that covered?
Right, good question. So anything a family provider should and is able to do in like a normal primary care office, we do that within our office as well. So within that monthly membership fee, all procedures are included. There's no additional charge. That includes EKGs, pulmonary function tests. If somebody did need a suture, we'd suture that up, no additional cost. We do mole removals, cryotherapy. Also within that monthly membership fee are any labs result in health are also included. So we do a stress test, a urine analysis, glucose checking, pregnancy checks. Those are no additional charge for that. Wound care, shoulder, knee joint injections, all that's included within the monthly membership fee. We do all we can to keep people in our clinic and out of the ER and urgent care, so we try to offer as many services as possible.
So that sounds like a great opportunity and a great deal. So who is your typical patient? Is it an insured patient, an uninsured patient, or, a mixture?
Yeah, I thought it would be those who don't have insurance and self-employed people who are looking for a more affordable option. And I guess to my surprise, it was much more broad than that, than who was looking for insurance. I would say generally the thing that people have in common are those who are paying for health insurance know the cost of it, and they know what they are not getting for the premium they are paying. We see a lot of people who are trying to get out of the high premiums, high deductibles, and try to get an actual benefit. And so they'll come to us and say, hey, okay, I like this. Is there a major medical solution that we can use with this? And so, yeah, we do with a lot of small employer groups or people who are self-employed or small employment, people who do cost-sharing groups. We work with people who maybe have insurance, but they have high deductible plans, so they're paying a lot out of pocket, but they know they have to be seen, for every 1 to 3 months, and it's actually more affordable for them to do a monthly membership subscription than it is to keep paying out of pocket for their high deductible plan. And then probably another slice of the pie, the people that see us are those who are just kind of set up the system. Like they're tired of only getting 7 to 10 minutes with their provider, and if they bring up a second condition, they say you have to schedule another appointment 2 to 6 weeks from now. And they realize their care is suffering. Maybe they're not as straightforward as Joe Schmo, and so they're trying to find somebody who has the time and the heart to care enough to spend time to try to figure out what's going on with them.
Yeah, we hear that a lot, navigating the system. And so how do you try to tell your patients about help navigating the system? Because what if they need a surgery or something, and they do want it covered in insurance? How do you recommend those kind of things? Yeah,
so what I found is that I feel like every primary care provider should be a healthcare navigator. Like we should be helping people through this labyrinth of a system to try to figure out, okay, look, you do need surgery, and here are your options. Because a lot of times the provider knows the route that they need to go and what options, and they might be able to even troubleshoot some things, whereas the patient's going to have maybe some idea, but they're not going to know, and they're going to have a lot more difficulty trying to get through the back door of a hospital or surgery center than a provider is. The providers are able to hit a button on a call center and actually speak to somebody, and so, like just for instance, the last 2 weeks, a guy was out running around on Thanksgiving playing, the American Classic football and ended up having an Achilles tendon rupture. We saw him early that next week, and when he called in saying, hey, things aren't getting better, I said, yeah, we can see you today. We saw him, said, yeah, this looks like an Achilles tendon rupture. That day, we were able to schedule for an ultrasound. But the thing about this ultrasound is you actually need a radiologist present. It's not just like your average ultrasound that a tech can do. So we ended up calling several imaging centers to try to find somebody who had the quickest availability to have a radiologist who could do the procedure, which we did at a fair price. And then once we confirmed that it was a ruptured Achilles tendon, we ended up calling 2 or 3 places to find who would take his insurance, because he kind of had this atypical insurance. So we then walked through the process of calling. Do you take them? No. Okay, well, while you're going here, they have like this walk-in clinic, one ortho clinic. You go there, I'll be calling here. And we were able to find, it was probably like plan C at that point. You know, plan A didn't pan out, didn't take his insurance. Plan B was like they couldn't get him in, their ankle surgery was out for 3 or 4 weeks. And then plan C ended up calling a buddy of mine who's in NFL and saying, hey, is there any way you can get this guy seen? He's like, yeah, you let me handle this. Like, oh, thank you so much. You know, so he calls and provides high quality service, and he gets surgery that Thursday. So like he had a week from the time of injury to surgery. He was 2 weeks out. From the time of diagnosis to surgery, it was 1 week. So we thought that was a pretty good turnaround.
Yeah. So do you ever find that sometimes the best option is you tell them to skirt around their insurance and actually pay up front and pay cash?
Yeah, absolutely. And frankly, with this guy, we were having that conversation. We were saying, okay, so you need some imaging, but you have a high deductible plan, right? And we know that your deductible is going to reset January 1st. So, yeah, you can pay the insurance-inflated pricing of whatever, you know, when your insurance is billed, or you can pay cash at the time of service, and you'll get like 50% off. But in his case, we knew that it was a pretty clinically, it looked really apparent that he had a significant rupture, right? If there was more of a doubt, we may have gone the cash route in light of his insurance, but clinically it was pretty obvious he had a rupture, so we knew that surgery was in the game. So we said, okay, you know what, you should bill this to your insurance, because now you're playing the deductible game. You want everything to go towards this deductible, because you're going to need it with the surgery. So just put it all towards that. You'll need it, and then hopefully it will kind of pay off itself at that point. Now, come January, when your deductible resets, okay, for physical therapy, let's have a discussion. You know, does it make sense to pay your co-payment for physical therapy, or can you get a better cash pay price? So we'll work on navigating that. And based on his policy, it's actually better for him to pay cash pay for the physical therapy in January after his deductible resets than for him to pay his co-payment and out-of-pocket co-insurance.
Wow, well, what a great advocate you were for the patient. Sounds like you saved him a lot of time and probably some money. So we are getting ready for our first commercial break. It is that time, and you're with Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham. And if you'd like to be part of the show, call in 509-765-1470.
Our parts bring you in, our people bring you back.
Taking a holiday road trip or just driving around town? Jerry's Auto Supply, powered by Napa, has must-have items for winter driving, like de-icer, antifreeze, wiper replacements, tire change, and more. Check out the ideas for gift giving, too. Jerry's knows charging and starting. From a 2-amp battery charge and maintainer for $34.99 to a dependable 12-volt jump starter, they can make sure you're not stranded when you have somewhere to be. Have a mechanic on your list? Jerry's features a full line of Carlisle hand tools that'll come in handy for any job. You might even be surprised to know that you can find things like car audio. A Bluetooth AM/FM stereo is just $30.99. A double-din unit with USB connection for $56.99. Jerry's even has new 4-way speakers and speaker replacements for as little as $7.99. Jerry's Auto Supply, powered by Napa, in Wenatchee, Cashmere, Leavenworth, Moses Lake, Chelan, Omak, and Brewster.
Our parts bring you in, our people bring you back. Jerry's Auto Supply.
Some jobs take more than skill. They require something deeper. At Visa Credit Union, we help you support law enforcement, firefighters, teachers, and veterans. With every purchase you make with a Visa Local Heroes Affinity debit card, we make a donation to select organizations. After all, we can never repay them, but we can do our best to help a little. With the Visa Local Heroes Affinity debit card. Visit Visa.com for more information.
Our goal at Confluence Health Gastroenterology is to provide you with the highest quality care in the country, close to home. Whether you have heartburn, liver disease, or just need a colonoscopy screen, our team of 9 highly trained and experienced gastroenterologists are dedicated to addressing your individual needs. Our physicians trained at top-notch fellowships from across the nation to include Stanford, Harvard, University of Washington, University of Michigan, Northwestern, and Walter Reed Medical Centers. They enjoy serving the genuine and hardworking people of Central Washington and are dedicated to keeping you healthy. When you have GI-related issues, go to the team that's trained to give you answers and devoted to serving our community. At Confluence Health Gastroenterology, we will treat you like the good neighbors you are. Call us today at 509-764-6400 to schedule an appointment, or visit us at confluencehealth.org.
Your house has everything you could ever want. A big TV, a home office, and plenty of space for the kids. And now, with all the home automation upgrades like your thermostat, lights, and security cameras, it's more important than ever to have fast, reliable internet. Upgrade your internet and switch to iFiber Communications. Gigabit internet for only $74.95. Call 509-761-3947 or visit iFiber.com today.
Are you raising a grandchild or another relative's child? If so, kinship programs may be available for your family. Kinship care is the full-time care of children by relatives. It occurs informally when children are not involved with the public child welfare system, and formally when public child welfare agencies are involved in placing children with relatives. The Kinship Caregiver Support Program can help with children's needs incurred by grandparents or other relatives when children come to live with them, as well as after the initial period. These programs can assist with food, clothing, basic needs, school and youth activities, energy, utility, and rental assistance, counseling, and transportation. Kinship Care maintains family, cultural, and community ties. It's the oldest form of family preservation and a safety net for children whose parents are unable or unwilling to care for them. To learn more or find a support group, contact Aging and Adult Care at 766-2568, extension 326, or access the Kinship Navigator Program at aaccw.org.
Jim Bohannon here, reminding you to listen to my show weeknights at 8 on AM 1470 KBSN. The Jim Bohannon Show is actually 3 shows in one. The guests range from people in politics, entertainment, sports. Who knows who I might talk to next? You conduct the interview with your questions as well. Then it's open phones, just you and me talking about whatever you'd like. The Jim Bohannon Show is part of the nighttime talk lineup on your first choice for news and information, AM 1470 KBSN.
Hello and welcome back to Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham. In our first segment, we had Matt Dinsmore on the line from Spokane Direct Primary Care. Matt, let's continue our conversation. You still there? It looks like we may have lost him, so I'm going to get him back on the line. While we're there, if you want to be part of the show, please give us a call, 509-765-1470. At our first segment, we were talking about direct primary care, and you guys know it's a membership model, and it looks like we're working on getting Matt back on the line. Matt, you there?
Yes, sorry.
All right, wonderful, thank you. So on our first segment, we were talking about your model and how you made some changes, and I'm so glad you did. We at Moses Lake Professional Pharmacy are starting to work with a lot more providers like yourself. I personally think it's the future of healthcare. What are your thoughts about the future of direct primary care?
Well, I think legislatively there's some movement going forward that's supportive of direct primary care. It was already named by name in the Affordable Care Act, in the executive order signed by Trump in the summer. It's specifically named direct primary care, urging legislators to address whether HSA expenses could be used for direct primary care monthly membership fees to kind of clarify the tax language. I think there's bipartisan support nationwide for it. There's 38 states that have laws specifically addressing approval, basically, of direct primary care in those states. And I think it has legs, whether we go, Medicare for all or continue to, do the semi-private health insurance that we're doing now, because it continues to focus care the way that it should be without a middleman. It's just a free market type of thing. It's kind of, I think you can share from your experience as a pharmacist who's gone outside insurance. I think there will always be a market for people who can be competitive with price and with care. And I know those are some of the pillars in which you stand your pharmacy on, and I think so. Regardless of whether everybody has free health insurance, I believe because of the flood of people that will need care, direct primary care will still have legs then, and because of our current just really messy healthcare system, it currently has legs now and has been taking off, especially in the last 4 or 5 years.
So why do you think that is, Matt?
Well, I think prices continue to go up, for one, and I think a bit of it is people are maybe continuing to feel the hurt, as premiums are passing mortgage payments, people, I think, are just kind of fed up. And because it's going higher and higher, employers are less apt or able to cover some of these medical benefit in full. So consumers are feeling the pain more and more of rising healthcare costs. I think that's helping drive the market. I think employer groups are beginning to see the benefit of direct primary care as a medical benefit, as they can sponsor that in the state of Washington. And there's more data now. We have research now in companies like KPI Ninja who are running analytics on direct primary care, and we can now show people, like, we are decreasing urgent care and ER visits by 30%. And if you're a self-insured company, that is a huge, huge amount of money that you will save. Net pharmacy costs go down by 90%. They're finding admission rates go down by up to 70%. If you're in the hospital, you stay in not as long. The L&I rates go down by 70%, according to some studies. The benefits of direct primary care, this unique relationship that basically, in like Norman Rockwell type era, this is how care was delivered. It was, we're kind of heading back to that, but with kind of today's technology. And what we're seeing is that when primary care is prioritized, and it's not a mystery. To a certain extent, when you prioritize primary care, people are healthier, they live longer, and they have less comorbidities from chronic conditions that are controlled better. That's like the role of a primary care provider. It's equivalent to saying, hey, you'll live longer if you exercise and eat right, and watch your weight. Like, this isn't a mystery necessarily, but now we kind of have the data, we have the longevity, we now have some legislative support, and so there's some real momentum, I think. I think providers are getting fed up, and they're saying, we got to get out of this. We just keep getting, it's more and more pinched, we feel more and more pinched, we want to provide high quality care, and so now you take these generally risk adverse people, and they're saying, they're reaching their tipping point, and they're jumping into direct primary care.
Well, I really find it interesting. I was thinking the same thing when you said the Norman Rockwell quote, and I wasn't thinking Norman Rockwell, but I was thinking that that's kind of where primary care is going back to, because, 40 years ago, primary care doctors, they did it all. Primary care doctors or practitioners, they did it all. They delivered babies, they fixed eyes, they did orthopedic surgery, they did appendectomies, they did all that kind of stuff. And I know not all primary care doctors want to go do necessarily all that stuff, but I'm just surprised some days, not surprised because I know the system, but I'm surprised some of the things that some primary care doctors that are in a big system, in a big group, what they don't take care of anymore. And immediately they want to send somebody to a specialist. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, well, I think, part of me is that there's kind of two sides of it. The one, I want to be respectful of my fellow employees or fellow colleagues. One, to a certain extent, obviously, if I'm doing what I'm doing, then I feel like the rush care model of 7 to 10 minutes per person is not right. It's just frankly not right. How can providers limit themselves and try to provide 7 minutes worth of care? I don't know how you can do that unless you care more about your pay than you care more about patients. And ultimately, by the end of the day, when you meet your maker, how much you make is not going to matter. It's not going to matter. And so I think there's a little bit of sellout by providers who are not speaking up and saying, I can't see this many people. But I think there's some fear, especially from MDs, that they'll be replaced by level providers like myself, and administration's working that way. And I just don't know. I think MDs have lost the voice that they once had. They used to be the leaders of the hospitals, the leaders of communities, and they've lost that voice because, frankly, I think they've sold out a little bit. And there's a few that are holding on, but most of us aren't. But I think the second aspect is I think we don't know the way. MDs are not trained, or nurse practitioners, or PAs. We're not trained to solve the labyrinth of healthcare. We're trained to take care of people. Like, that's what we know, and that's what we're gifted at. We're not gifted as entrepreneurs and business, and that's not what we do. They just want to help, and so we I think in order to help us continue moving forward, we need advocates for direct primary care, and that's providers who are going to continue to be the voice of their community, and that also means legislative support locally and through organizations and through patients who are speaking about direct primary care and the benefits that it's had in their lives. That is the greatest benefit, is when people can say, hey, this was unique, this direct primary care relationship was unique, because I feel like they knew me, I feel like they had time, and they illustrated it because they kind of put their money where their mouth was, if you will.
Yeah, you are speaking to the choir. Let me tell you, I've been working in healthcare for over 20 years now, and in that time, I've collected a lot of thoughts in my head and a lot of opinions and ideas from entrepreneurial, because that's what you are, even though you say you're not, and you are. And I know that we don't get that in business as healthcare providers. We don't get business in school a lot as healthcare providers, and I think that's a problem. I'll get into that a little bit later. But collecting these stories, I started jotting them down, and I wanted to write a book. So about 5 years ago, I started writing a book, and it is just the things that you're saying, just it hits home in the book, and you're right. Healthcare providers, we are part of the solution. We can sit and complain about the system, or we can fix it, but we are part of the solution. And I've used this quote over and over again, and it's actually a quote in my book also, that Dr. Keith Smith, the owner of the Oklahoma Surgery Center in Oklahoma, I don't know if you've worked with him at all yet. He was 20 years ago, he was the first cash-only surgery center that I know of, and he was instrumental in actually being transparent with pricing and posting his prices online. And he has really rocked that part of the world. Because you can save so much money. Consumers know what they're paying before they get there. Anyway, when he was in practice, and my interview with him, he said this. He said, when I was playing the game and in that system, I felt like an accessory to the crime. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's a lot of providers out there, and they think the same way, but they really need to know that they're empowered to change that and change that for their patients. And ultimately, they can make those changes and empower their patients to make changes. And when we as healthcare providers start empowering our patients to make those changes, that's when things really, really start to happen. Yeah. So I appreciate your insight on that. Now, one of the things about business and healthcare, I remember in pharmacy school, and you might have had the same. I literally had people that would say, well, I just wish we didn't have to worry about business. I just wish it was just, you give patients care and you didn't have to worry about business. But, and I don't know if you had the same experience, but that's kind of what I got. I did have an elective where I had a great business class, and that was awesome. Right. But I think what I also recognize, you said earlier, is that, we talk about, free healthcare, but then we talk about how expensive healthcare is. So, can we have free healthcare and have it inexpensive? That's interesting to me. Isn't that an interesting concept? That it's free, but yet it's expensive? Right?
Sure, right, yeah.
So anyway, I appreciate you stepping out stepping out and being an entrepreneur, and I really, really like to support practices like yours and love getting the word out there, because people need to know that there are other options. So what's your typical wait time? How soon can a patient get in to see you?
Well, for urgent care things, we guarantee same day, next day. So hopefully it's that same day or next day. We had 3 people call today, and we were able to see all of them today. So that's our promise. If it was like a well-adult exam, we might have a little more flexibility, but even that, we're talking about a few days.
What's been your biggest hurdle opening up this new practice?
I think it's education. I think because it's it seems too good to be true. Wait, you can you do unlimited office. I can come in every day. It's not going to cost anything. No. I can spend 2 hours with you. You're not going to charge me more. No. You do these procedures. There won't be anything else. No. Just as long as you pay your monthly membership fee, that's it. Okay, and I can text and call you from Puerto Rico, and if something's going on, I can talk to you. Yes, 24/7. Yes, if it's an urgent care, we want to be there, with you. And I think people have a tough time wrapping their mind around that. Like, education has been the biggest, I don't know if it's the biggest hurdle, but biggest requirement, I would say, to really talk to people about it. And because when they go in and it's like, what do you mean you don't take insurance? Like, they automatically think that's a bad thing. We're saying, we don't take insurance, and that's a good thing, because that's going to save you money in the long run. Based on your health, I'm telling you, here's what you could do, and you could save hundreds of dollars a month just on your premium alone if you just made a few changes. I mean, and get quality of care that ranks in the 95th percentile nationally. That's the patient satisfaction scores for direct primary care in the nation. It's not, and it's just such a simple model. It's just a monthly membership fee, and then everything is included, more or less. There might be a few things that you pay cash for or whatever, but usually it's at cost. And it's like this true transparency. And I've heard a lot of people say, okay, once I got into it, once I saw, like, oh my gosh, I can get this 3 months of a blood pressure medication for $2 for you guys. Like, this is how much this costs you guys to get this? Yes, it's $2. It opens up your eyes to the transparency, and it becomes really difficult then to go back and say, a $20 copayment is not difficult for me to pay, knowing that this generic medication once cost me $2. Right? It's like, I know how much this pharmacy, I'm not picking on you because I know you don't do it anymore, but, this costs them, and I know what they're charging as a profit. It's like, it just allows transparency. So I think for us, that has been the biggest hurdle, is just trying to tell people that there's a better way than health insurance.
Yeah.
Or there can be, actually.
Yeah. And I think, isn't that one of our jobs as healthcare providers, to educate patients? And so I don't mind doing that. And it's not unbelievable, because I get it, but when you do educate patients, and medications is a perfect example. You know
a thing about that.
Yeah, and they're paying a $20 copay every month for medication that, if they purchased it at a 100-day supply, it'd be $15, cash. Mm-hmm. And they think they're getting a good deal because of their insurance. Oh, I have good insurance, because they don't know any different. So it's our job to educate them about that. So we are about ready to go to another commercial break. You are with Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham. Join the show. Have a question for Matt. Give us a call, 509-765-1470.
An open letter to the woman currently figuring out what to get her husband for Christmas.
Hi, honey, this is your husband. If you're thinking of just going with clothes again, that's cool. I'll roll with it just like I always do. But a Northern Quest gift card might be nice. Just something I can play with instead of, wear. The way I'm already wearing the clothes that I'm wearing.
Give the gift of Northern Quest. Stop by or visit northernquest.com for details.
Oh, that was awesome.
Maybe we could talk about something besides Northern Quest for a change.
All right.
That weekend at the lake was nice.
Yeah, that boat was really floating up on top of that water.
I think that was because of physics. Oh, I can't do this.
Serious about gaming? Northern Quest pays out more than 80 jackpots per day. Visit northernquest.com for details.
Are you looking for a little more comfort in your life? Call the expert, your Carrier dealer. Carrier dealers are the authorities at getting peak performance from your heating and cooling system. So call your Carrier dealer first. He has ways of making you very comfortable. Carrier, turn to the experts.
Call Basin Refrigeration in Moses Lake, 765-7138.
Our goal at Confluence Health Gastroenterology is to provide you with the highest quality care in the country, close to home. Whether you have heartburn, liver disease, or just need a colonoscopy screening, our team of 9 highly trained and experienced gastroenterologists are dedicated to addressing your individual needs. Our physicians trained at top-notch fellowships from across the nation to include Stanford, Harvard, University of Washington, University of Michigan, Northwestern, and Walter Reed Medical Centers. They enjoy serving the genuine and hardworking people of Central Washington and are dedicated to keeping you healthy. When you have GI-related issues, go to the team that's trained to give you answers and devoted to serving our community. At Confluence Health Gastroenterology, we will treat you like the good neighbors you are. Call us today at 509-764-6400 to schedule an appointment, or visit us at confluencehealth.org.
Wristbands for the 2020 Grant County Fair are here just in time for Christmas. They make great stocking stuffers, and at just $22, they're a great deal. Regular price is $35. You can purchase your wristbands online at gcfairgrounds.com. Avoid the hassle at fair time and surprise someone
Attending your holiday concerts and events at school. Please take a few minutes and peek into the school's Lost and Found. The school has lots of unclaimed coats, hats, gloves, and sweatshirts. You spend a good money keeping your kids warm. So please take a look. With this colder winter weather, they're going to be needing them. Keep listening for more Talk of the Town community calendar events. Brought to you by Mountain View Polaris and Moses Lake on 3rd Avenue.
Everybody loves a winner. The Rags to Riches story has become a part of the American dream, and you can hear stories like these every day on the Success Journal. Hi, I'm your host, Chris Whitting, inviting you to join me for the behind-the-scenes stories of those who risked it all while reaching for the stars. Listen every weekday for the Success Journal.
Join us for the Success Journal weekday mornings at 7:53 during Good Morning Radio here on AM 1470 KBSN.
Listeners and viewers, welcome back to Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham. We are in our last segment here with Matt Dinsmore from Direct Primary Care out of Spokane. Matt, you still with us?
I am.
All right. So I do have some questions for you. Okay. So do you have, like on your website, is there a list of pricing or different services or all the above?
Yeah, there's so for the monthly membership fee, we have lists of pricing. We list our, members get about 85% off labs. We have a list of like typical labs, like CBC, CMP, lipid with cost, with the at cost cash pay pricing. We get 80-90% off medications, so we list 20 common meds and what the cost is versus retail with that. And then imaging, we have X-ray images at all for that $55. We kind of list that. There's multiple other things that we haven't listed. It's in our list of services. So once we kind of sign up, we can show some of those things. But the steroid that would go in the shoulder, the anti-nausea medication we can give IV, or the injection for a headache or something like that. Those are all at cost, usually less than $5. And certainly before we give it, we disclose the pricing. Hey, do you want this? It's going to cost you this much, and then can give it at the time of service.
Right. So when you speak of your monthly membership, will you go over that pricing one, age base? Will you go over that one more time?
Yeah. So 0 to 29, it's $29. I'm sorry, 0 to 26 years old, $29 a month. 27 to 39 years old, it's $49 a month. 40 to 59. 40 to 59 is $79 a month. And then 60 to 64 is $109 a month.
And they say healthcare is not affordable, right? Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's cheaper than my cell phone bill.
Exactly. I know. I use that analogy a lot when somebody says something's expensive, yet they pay $100 a month for a cell phone. Or think about a Starbucks coffee every day, at least $5, 30 times a month, $150. So it's cheaper to have a membership with you where they have unlimited primary care visits than it is to buy a Starbucks a day. That's quite a value, is what that is.
I mean, statistically, it's about 79% of the care you'll need in your lifetime. It's within that monthly membership fee.
Wow, that's amazing. So you're talking about X-rays. $59? You say $59 for an X-ray? 55?
55. Yeah, 55.
And that's a 6-position X-ray.
That it could be, yes. Yeah, however many views, neck, back, knee, shoulder, hand, foot, whatever. X-ray imaging, flat fee is $55.
Okay, so give an example of through an insurance, what would the price of an X-ray normally be?
You're usually looking 3 times that, I would say. It's probably $40 per view. Most images need, at least 2, chest X-rays, 2 views, and knee X-rays, 4 views, and spine X-ray can need 2 views. You're looking at least, I'd say, around there. So probably $150 to $200 for the most expensive X-ray. There are some X-rays, like 1 view, you might spend $40. And with the urgent care, we said, hey, can we just simplify it? Can we just, instead of people wondering what it is, can we just say, hey, whatever the X-ray is, it's going to be $55 flat fee. Make it a fair price for urgent care. Make it a fair price for our patients. And that's all we're asking for. Let's just be fair and transparent. And so we're able to kind of settle on what we think is a really good price for an X-ray.
Good for you. Way to be an advocate for patients. So I will give you an example. I know my son broke his wrist a few years ago.
Okay.
And 6-position X-ray. They wanted $300 for a 6-position X-ray. And then they wanted $300 to read it. Right. And, of course, I tried to argue with them and say, well, that doesn't seem reasonable. And they said, well, that's what insurance usually, we bill insurance. I said, well, I don't have insurance. So I tried to negotiate a cash price with them later. They weren't very friendly about it. So we ended up going somewhere else, actually, and we got an X-ray for $59.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And, of course, that X-ray included the reading fee. Yeah, which, I don't know, Matt. I mean, I'm just a pharmacist, but I think that, to throw a reading fee on there is just overcharging the system, and they just do it because they can, and that's one of the reasons that I don't like the health insurance model, because things are just billed on there to add up the costs because somebody else pays the bill. So, I don't know. I think that's something that should be included in the appointment is reading the X-ray. I mean, I would think that sounds reasonable. So what is your most compelling story? Give us a great patient story where you saved a patient. A great patient story where you saved a patient a bunch of time or money. And I know you have lots of them, but go ahead.
All right. How much time do you have? Okay. I'll try to make this concise. So, we got a patient come in who was complaining of abdominal pain. And so when he came in, we thought, gosh, there's enough here that he needs some imaging today. Like, this could be appendicitis or, I don't know, choices, gallbladder issue or something like that. We need some imaging to rule out some real bad things. And it's either that or we got to send him to the ER to get it right away. So, okay, well, let's see if we can get some imaging done. And he's a cash pay patient, so he's cost conscious, right? He wants to navigate this in a smart way. So he's okay, well, you're stable. You're not, you don't have a fever. Doesn't look like your blood pressure is real low. Like you're stable. We can manage this on an outpatient basis, so long as we can move some of these things along. So we ended up calling 3 or 4 imaging centers, trying to find the best time, and we found one that had the best time and what we hoped was a good price. Right? It was through this through a company. And so I called ahead, we arranged a time for him, he was going over there, and they said, okay, an hour before appointment, we're gonna call it and confirm the price, we gotta run this through our financial department. So we said, okay, and we had already called this clinic before on separate occasions to kind of figure out what the local cash pay price is for some of these things. And so we had a rough idea what it was gonna cost. So we called, and they called and they said, hey, it's gonna cost me, this CT abdomen is gonna cost me, it was like $2,400, $3,200, something along those lines. And we knew, based on our research, that it might, like worst case scenario, should be like $800, $600, something like that. Like, okay, that is way higher than we thought. So then we called the billing department, and the billing department doesn't know. We don't know how much it's going to cost them. Like, it depends on his insurance. He's cash pay. Well, we don't know what we charge for that. Like, how do you not know what you charge that? Okay, well, there is somebody who knows. So they had to call somebody. That person called me. In the meantime, we're like an hour away from his appointment. We're rushing up to his appointment, trying to get him in as soon as we can. We called, they call us in, and they're like, okay, yes, we confirmed it. It was $3,200. I'm like, no, okay, he's paying cash. Well, yeah, okay, he gets a 20% discount, so he brings it down, I don't know, whatever it was. And it still was 3 to 4 times higher. And I remember asking, I was like, how can you justify? I know that the same basically CAT scan machine down the road should cost them 4 times less than what you're charging them. How do you justify that charge? How do I ever send another patient to you knowing that they're going to be fleeced because they're going to be charged an incredible amount of money? How do I do that? How do I continue to send people away? They're like, well, I don't know. I can't blame them. Like, they don't set the pricing. It's like some hierarchy ladder thing. She's like, well, I'll talk to somebody and see if we can lower it down. They said, no, we don't do price negotiation. Like, well, because there's no price transparency. You're not accountable for your price. So that's why you can charge whatever you want. So when we were calling around again, we canceled this guy's appointment. We've got to try to find him in another place. And he also needs to be pre-treated. That's right, with IV contrast. He needs to be pre-treated with some steroids. In which case, we found another place to do the CAT scan, and they said, no, we can't do the steroids because we don't do that here. That's scheduled a different day. We need a nurse present and all this other stuff. And I was like, okay, well, we have that steroid in-house. So why don't you come back here. Wow. We'll give you the shots. We give him the shots. It was like $12. And then he goes before this new scheduled appointment, and we confirmed the pricing was $600, $800, something like that, 4 times less than what he was going to have to pay, and was able to get the test done that day. The most ironic thing is the same person who ordered that, who owns that CT scan, the same company owns that CT scan, owns the other one that quoted us the price 4 times higher. But because he had to walk through the doors of a hospital to get into that CT machine, even though it was outpatient, because it was located in a hospital, they could charge and justify 4 times the amount than what they were charging at this kind of standalone outpatient clinic, which doesn't make any sense to me. It's like the same test. They're just a little bit different doors. I suppose some higher administration, but then they can apparently bill 4 times that.
Right. It's a complete racket. And we had another DPC provider on, Dr. Richard Edgerly, 2 episodes ago that talked about facility fees in hospitals. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that really increase prices is in hospitals, facility fees. I don't think that's exactly what's going on there, but I totally get that. So, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, the long story short is we probably saved him, not only able to get the imaging that day and kept him out of the ER, we probably saved him $2,000 to $4,000. We were able to find out what was going on and begin a treatment regime that next day. And we found out that day that it wasn't an acute abdomen, and then it was the next day that we would be able to begin to work on what else was going on.
And of course, you saved him a ton of time. I mean, a ton of time. Right. Not have to navigate the entire system. So we're about ready to wrap it up. So Matt, in closing, does a patient have to be located in Spokane to be a member of your clinic?
Well, no, technically no. However, that might be a long drive from Seattle to come to, our clinic. So when you register for a direct primary care clinic, it's kind of like signing up for a gym. It gives you access to that gym and not every other gym. So if you're part of our direct primary care, then you get limited access to where we're located in North Spokane. You can use telemedicine services wherever. So whether you're in Seattle or, we do that for part of our patients. And then, you always can Google direct primary care near me, and you probably can find 2 or 3 locations, clinics that are doing exactly what we're doing right in your own hometown.
That's awesome. So how can patients get a hold of you, Matt?
Well, they can check us out online at mydpcclinic.com, so my direct primary care, but mydpcclinic.com. It's also our Facebook, if you want to follow us on there. Instagram hashtag is the same thing. They're also welcome to give us a call if we can help in any way, or if they just want some more information. Our number is 509-553-0565.
Awesome, Matt. Well, that wraps up another episode of Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham. Thank you all for listening. And next week we have Dr. Greg Jones from Health Source Chiropractic out of Moses Lake. That wraps up another episode. Thank you so much for listening, and see you next week.
Gentlemen, listen up. You don't want to miss this. At North 40 Outfitters,